Good morning, everyone. I've never done a performance at that time, and it's usually an environment which is it's very different. So it's a whole new experience for me. And thank you for listening and for being present and for not killing me or totally freaking out. In terms of the idea of that being extreme, that's probably about 2 on the radar of 10, so I was semi-kind, perhaps just to myself. So I've had a bit of an introduction, and I'm going to jump in there. So I'm doing this PhD thing where I'm interested in the relationship between feedback, voice, and materials, especially the relationship of air pressure and materials. So thinking through the way that sound is something that is an independent, active phenomena that has the agency to change fabric over a period of time. So I'm still a little bit out of breath. So what is this sound thing? We know that as culture, we know it as something that is a social fabric where you can subjectively read it, but what is it when we look at it as a thing that can potentially break things down? So I've been going around the world, Australia, and just essentially screaming into microphones, ululating, texturizing, and I don't use effects. I'm really against the digital or analog sort of processing of my voice. I'm very much interested in the direct line of frequency from the body to the amplifier and then back again. So there's that feedback loop, which I really like to work with. And I'm also into pushing my body and the amplifiers and the audiences outside of their comfort zones. In 2009, I would have told you post-performance that I couldn't talk because I'd lost my voice and had blood coming out of my throat. Despite the pictures here presenting an agile body, tuning feedback with your microphone like I do has a pretty intense kind of, go away text message. It affects your body in a pretty kind of detrimental way. So in this sense, the stereotype of the woman's body as effeminate, sensual, sexy, pretty, trained and harmonious is in every sense transgressed. I'm not on a stage, nor a pedestal, and the proscenium is long in the past. I'm in full black clothing, performing somewhere that you're not meant to perform in a way that you would never expect a woman to perform. The vocal style itself, the scream, is not one of a woman in need. I'm not defenseless. It takes a much heavier tone, one that's closer to metal, one that slips between the male-female binary of what we look to hear in vocal sounds. So I'd ask you then, people in the audience, what is the politics of a scream that's not born of fear, one that's intentional and unapologetic? What's the purpose of going to a cliff's edge in extreme weather warnings in the middle of Broadway like this at night and vocalising like I do in this work, Volitional Bus? I'll tell you 2 stories about this work. What's the next slide? Let's just see. Okay, cool. So when you see this work in the gallery and you have the image of the body on the screen, you don't hear any voice. You just hear 40 hertz sub-bass rumble kind of throughout the space. And so the first time I'd installed the work, a man came up to me who was not unfamiliar with extreme or experimental kind of music practices at all, and he said to me, "Wow, I really love this one on the mountain over here. Who's the guy you've got performing?" And I was like, wow, I really just didn't know what to say to that. Second story, same work, a couple of years later in City Gallery, Wellington. My partner and I just finished installing it. There's one screen on this side, and then on the other side there's the other screen. And a young group of girls come up to the window to watch. They're about 15, there's 5 of them. They're kind of going, "Oh, what is going on here?" And you can hear, when the screens go black, the scream kind of crescends over the concrete area that's outside of these screens. So it kind of, you get drawn in by the voice, but then you see the body and there is no voice. And they're like going, oh, is it a man? I don't know. No, yeah. No? I don't know. No, definitely not. And I was way too intrigued. So I'm kind of like standing behind them, just listening in on their conversation. And I had to say, so do you think it's a man? And they're like, yeah, it's definitely a man. I was like, right. Well, it's me. And they were like, no, oh my God, like in that no way, like capital OMG, and then kind of in the way that 15-year-olds are like dropping their hats all over the place. And then I was like, wow, again, this work. Yeah, really interesting kind of fun stuff. So, I mean, what do I take from that? I think that, hi Michael. I think that I've become an artist for the reason that the framework of the artwork doesn't tell you what to think. You have to draw your own reductions, and you have to work out your own ideas about what's being communicated. Yeah, and thinking about what it is that what's being expressed in terms of the idea of what I think it is to be a woman. Thank you.